Unless you've been living under a rock the past few weeks, you know that Focal released the Utopia 2022 headphone. Actually, it looks like some of the folks under the rocks got the news too. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our awesome audiophile content, including reviews, how-tos, buying guides, and more. The Focal Utopia is an iconic headphone in the audiophile world, having won numerous awards since its release in 2016. This year, Focal announced it was releasing an updated Utopia. Those who didn't catch a glimpse of leaked photos ahead of the September 16th release wondered, what will it look like? And everyone wondered, how will it sound? Moon Audio founder and CEO Drew Baird, who counts the Utopia among his very favorite headphones of all time, offered his thoughts on the original Utopia versus the Utopia 2022 in a recent video. Now, I'm going to offer mine. So, you know how there are certain headphones that just seem to have something extra, a certain je ne sais quoi, some quality of sound that makes your soul light up? In my opinion, that includes the Hi-Fi Man Susvara, the Empire Ears Legend Evo IEM, and the Focal Utopia. The Utopia was my first ever audiophile headphone listening experience, and it's an experience that I'll never forget. Now, of course, the first time listening to any pair of headphones of this caliber is going to be amazing if all you've ever listened to are cheaper cans. But even taking that into account, I knew the Utopia was something extra special when I first listened to it a couple of years ago. Now, I've had the pleasure of listening to both iterations of the Utopia. So first, let's compare looks. I've heard various opinions on this. Some think the OG Utopia was classier looking. Others think that the new design is eye-catching. Here's what I think. You can't please all the people all the time. I like both designs. I think the OG has a more refined, elegant look, while the update is more modern and sporty looking. I did like the silver accents on the OG, but I do like the pop of red on the 2022. And I think the new yin-yang detail is really cool. And you see this here? The yoke is carbon fiber on the 2022, just like the OG, but Focal used forged carbon here, which is basically recycled carbon. The result is this sort of marbled pattern, which is going to give each headphone a slightly different look. Now, the outer part of the cup on the 2022 has a more matte finish as opposed to the mirror finish of the original. And the inside of each ear cup now has the Focal flame logo. And here's that yin-yang that I mentioned before. It's subtle, and I actually had to inquire about its whereabouts after I read about it. But here it is, and it's a nod to the balance of design and technology in the Utopia. You can also see like the screen-like grille on the original has been replaced with the honeycomb grille, which you'll recognize from the Focal Clear MG. Now, I know my sound impressions are what you're really looking for though, so let's get to it. One thing I love about playing with different audio gear is how the sound and the mood of your favorite music can change. I'm not talking about big, fundamental changes, but things that a trained ear will pick up on, and things even a novice might notice, even if they can't quite articulate them. So I've decided to take the very first song that I listened to on the OG Utopia, which was Time by Pink Floyd, and talk about how it sounds on that headphone versus the 2022 version. If you're not familiar with it, it's the fourth track on Dark Side of the Moon. Here's my well-worn copy on vinyl. And it's a song I've listened to hundreds of times. Heck, my senior yearbook quote comes from the song. I know it really, really well. Time opens with a series of alarm clocks ticking and then chiming in a frenzied cacophony, followed by a hypnotic tick-tock sound and drum solo with organ and bells. The body of the song marries Roger Waters and Richard Wright's gritty vocals with searing guitar and expressive female backing vocals, culminating in a poignant final verse that falls into a languid outro. On the OG Utopia, those opening alarm bells are intense. You might say they sound piercing. In fact, that was a critique that some people had about the OG Utopia, that the highs were peaky. That's never been my feeling overall, but those alarm bells on the OG will test more sensitive ears. I feel as though I'm literally inside of a clock chamber. I'm also feeling like the music is very close, almost as if it's inside of my head. The bass line sounds like it's there to add structure to the song, but the overall presentation is not warm or bassy. Throughout the song, I find myself being awed by and compelled to keep track of all of the details that I'm hearing. Everything is beautifully layered and there for me to pick out. If I had to categorize the overall mood of the song for me listening on the OG Utopia, I would say foreboding, somber, haunting. With the Utopia 2022, there's less edge to those alarm bells. They are aggressive and impactful, but a little less piercing. Moving on to that drum, guitar, pre-vocal portion, it sounds immediately fuller and warmer to me. I also feel like the vocals are just a bit smoother. And I have the sense that the music is right out in front of me as opposed to in my head. I think that speaks to more depth on the new Utopia, whereas both Utopias have about the same level of soundstage width-wise, which is moderate. I feel very much carried along by the music with the Utopia 2022, as opposed to my tendency to dissect the details on the OG Utopia. Also, the bass is simply more impactful on the 2022. It fills the space more. If I had to describe the mood of the song Time on the Utopia 2022, I would say smoky and darkly spirited. So to sum that up, I would say that the OG sound is transparent, layered, prominent highs, forward mids, analytical. The 2022 sound I would describe as warmer, more organic, fuller, bigger, more rounded, with smoother highs. So, does the 2022 have the same je ne sais quoi as the OG? Well, maybe not the same je ne sais quoi, but its own kind. It's a remarkable sounding headphone. If I had to pick between the two, I'd probably pick the new Utopia, but that's because I gravitate toward a warmer sound generally. But really, I'd really love to own both of them. Taking a line from the song Time, "The sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older," seems like a fitting metaphor here. The new Utopia is still the Utopia, but it's an evolved Utopia. All right, guys, I'm done with my album. Now, when it comes to dragon cables, we usually recommend the Black Dragon for the OG Utopia. The Black Dragon is a good match for more analytical sounding headphones, adding some warmth and weight to the low end. However, we typically recommend a Silver Dragon for the Utopia 2022, which is a good match for warmer headphones, adding some top-end sizzle and pulling out lost middle and high frequency tones for a more detailed sound. However, there are no hard and fast rules when it comes to cable pairings. Check out moon-audio.com to learn more about our Dragon headphone cables. Now, if you want to learn more about both Utopias, including design changes that lend themselves to a new sound, check out our reviews linked below. If you have any questions, leave us a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching.